On my birthday, I spent 6 hours under our sink fixing the pipes that had flooded our kitchen. My clothes were soaked through with dirty water. My shoulder dislocated twice. When I finally crawled out, my wife was texting pictures of me to her friends. This is what I settled for. At least he's useful sometimes. Her best friend replied, like having a broken appliance that occasionally works. They both laughed. I quietly packed a bag that night. 1 week later, the entire neighborhood could hear her screaming my name from the driveway. I've been sitting at my brother's kitchen table for the past hour, trying to figure out how to write this. Sorry if it rambles. I've never posted anything like this before, but I need to get it off my chest, and honestly, I could use some validation that I'm not completely losing my mind here. So I turned 42 last month. My wife Skylar, 39, and I have been married for 11 years. No kids. Something she initially said was a mutual decision, but I later found out she told her friends she couldn't imagine reproducing with someone like me. Yeah. That's coming up later. I work in construction management, not glamorous, but it pays well. Skylar is a pharmaceutical sales rep, which means designer suits, expense accounts, and lots of networking events with doctors and hospital administrators. On paper, we were doing great. Nice house in a good neighborhood, 2 vacations a year, the works. Her family loves that I'm handy, which became code for, we don't have to pay for repairs because Lucas will do it. My birthday fell on a Saturday this year. I'd been dropping hints about wanting to try this new steakhouse downtown. Nothing fancy, just wanted to spend an evening with my wife, eating a meal I didn't have to cook myself. That morning, I woke up to an empty bed. Found Skylar in the kitchen, frantically mopping up water. A pipe under the sink had burst, and our kitchen was flooding. No happy birthday. No acknowledgement of the day. Just thank God you're up. Fix this. Now I could have called a plumber. Should have, probably. But it was Saturday. Emergency rates would be astronomical, and honestly, I fixed worse. So I grabbed my tools and crawled under the sink. What I thought would be a simple pipe replacement turned into a nightmare. The initial break had caused pressure to build up elsewhere in our ancient plumbing, revealing 3 separate issues. I spent 6 straight hours under that sink, getting soaked with filthy water contorting my body into spaces it wasn't meant to fit. My left shoulder, which I entered a few years back on a job site, dislocated twice. If you've ever experienced that, you know the pain is excruciating, but I popped it back in both times and kept working because I knew Skylar was stressed about hosting her book club the next day. By hour 5, I was in so much pain I could barely move, but I kept going. Finally fixed the last connection, tested it, and dragged myself out from under the sink. My clothes were destroyed, soaked through with dirty water, and God knows what else had been lurking in those pipes. My entire body was screaming in pain. Skylar was sitting at the kitchen island scrolling through her phone, didn't even look up when I emerged. I limped to the fridge, grabbed a beer, and mumbled something about needing a shower. That's when I noticed she was taking pictures of me. I assumed she was documenting the flood damage for insurance or something. I was halfway up the stairs when my phone buzzed. A notification from our shared iPad that was still on the kitchen counter. A text message preview appeared from her friend Natalie. OMG. That's hilarious. Like having a broken appliance that I stopped, went back down, picked up the iPad while Skylar was still focused on her phone. The full message exchange was right there. Skylar had sent a picture of me filthy, obviously in pain, crawling out from under the sink. Her text said, "This is what I settled for. At least he's useful sometimes. Happy birthday to me." Natalie replied, like having a broken appliance that occasionally works. Then Skylar, exactly. Doesn't look like much, but he'll fix your pipes low. And they went on, trading jokes at my expense. Apparently, this was a regular thing. I scrolled up and saw dozens of similar exchanges stretching back months, all mocking me. My clothes, my hobbies, my family. One particularly vicious thread was them fantasizing about the upgrade Skylar would get when she finally decided to trade up. I just stood there dripping dirty water onto our kitchen floor while my wife sat 3 feet away laughing at her phone, completely oblivious that I was reading every word. In that moment, something inside me just switched off. 11 years of marriage, and this was how she saw me. A broken appliance, a settlement, someone to fix the pipes and pay the bills until something better came along. I put the iPad down without saying a word, went upstairs, took the longest, hottest shower of my life, letting the water mix with tears I hadn't shed in years. After my shower, I spent the rest of the day going through the motions. We had dinner. Nothing special, definitely not the steakhouse I'd been hoping for. Skylar never mentioned my birthday. I didn't bring it up either. What was the point? That night, I waited until Skylar was deep asleep. Then I quietly packed a small bag with essentials, some clothes, my important documents, and the watch my grandfather left me. I left my wedding ring on my nightstand. No note. Nothing dramatic. I just walked out the door at 3 a.m. and drove to my brother Colin's place across town. Colin took one look at me and knew something was seriously wrong. I crashed on his couch that night, and the next morning, I told him everything. He offered to let me stay as long as I needed, no questions asked. That's what real family does. I turned off my phone that first day, needing space to think. When I finally powered it back on Sunday night, I had 27 missed calls from Skylar, a dozen increasingly frantic voicemails, and about 50 text messages ranging from confused to angry to panicked. I sent one text. I saw your messages to Natalie. I know how you really feel about me. I'll be by next weekend to get my things. Please don't contact me until then. Then I blocked her number and deactivated my social media accounts temporarily. I needed a complete digital detox from her. Monday morning, I met with a divorce attorney. He advised me on the proper legal steps to separate our finances without crossing any legal lines. By Tuesday, I had documentation drafted for a formal separation and had notified our bank of the pending separation, which would allow me to legally secure my personal income going forward while maintaining joint responsibility for our shared expenses. Wednesday, I spoke with my bank about my options and began the paperwork for a new individual account. Thursday, I took a personal day from work and viewed 3 apartment rentals, finding a small but decent place with a flexible landlord who understood my situation. He agreed to an expedited move-in process with a slightly higher security deposit. Fair enough. I didn't tell anyone where I was going, not even Colin. I just needed a clean break, a fresh start where memories of Skylar couldn't follow me. Friday, I told my boss I needed to adjust my schedule for the next few weeks due to personal issues. He's a good guy. Didn't pry, just asked what he could do to help. I worked out a temporary arrangement where I could handle more of the office work and fewer site visits while my shoulder healed and I sorted out my personal life. Saturday, exactly 1 week after I'd spent my birthday under that sink, I pulled up to our house to collect my belongings. I timed it for when I knew Skylar would be at her weekly yoga class. I had a small moving truck and calling for backup, planning to be in and out in 90 minutes. But Skylar's car was in the driveway. I sat there for a moment, steeling myself for the confrontation I'd hoped to avoid. Colin squeezed my shoulder and said, "I've got your back, man. Let's just get your stuff and go." We walked up to the door, and I used my tea for what I knew would be the last time. The house was immaculate, cleaner than I'd ever seen it. There were grocery bags on the counter with all my favorite foods. A birthday cake sat in the center of the dining table with "I'm sorry" written in frosting. The smell of my favorite pot roast filled the air. Skylar appeared from the living room, eyes red and puffy from crying. She'd clearly planned this ambush, thinking she could cook and clean her way back into my good graces. But the men who fixed everything around the house could also be fixed with the right combination of tears and pot roast. "Lucas," she started, voice breaking. "Please let me explain." "There's nothing to explain," I said, surprised by the steadiness in my own voice. I read everything. It was just stupid girl talk. It didn't mean anything. She was full on crying now, moving toward me. 11 years, Lucas. Are you really throwing away 11 years over some dumb texts? Colin stayed by the door while I walked to the bedroom, Skylar trailing behind me, alternating between pleading and accusing. I tuned her out and started methodically packing my clothes. "This is about Rebecca from your office, isn't it?" She suddenly demanded, switching tactics. I always knew something was going on there. I actually laughed at that. Rebecca is 62 and has pictures of her grandkids all over her desk, but Skylar was desperate, grasping for any explanation other than the truth that her own cruelty had driven me away. I worked silently, efficiently. Years of construction management had taught me how to organize a job and execute it without wasted motion. Within 45 minutes, I had packed everything I wanted to take with me. There wasn't much: clothes, books, tools, a few sentimental items. The furniture, the appliances, the big TV she'd insisted we needed, she could have it all. When I started carrying boxes out to the truck, Skylar's pleading turned to anger. You can't just leave. What about the mortgage? I stopped and looked at her, really looked at her for the first time that day. I've already spoken to the bank. I'll keep paying my half of the mortgage until we sort out the divorce or you decide to sell. As for any projects around the house, I'm sure you can find another appliance to handle those for you. Her face crumpled as her own words came back to her. We finished loading the truck in silence. As I was about to leave, I handed her a business card for my divorce attorney and a folder containing a fair proposal for dividing our assets. I've been more than generous, taking on more of our minimal shared debt than required and making no claim on her expensive jewelry or the vacation property her parents had helped us buy. It's all in here, I said. I'm not looking to punish you, Skylar. I just can't be with someone who sees me the way you do. I turned to walk out the door, but her voice stopped me. Lucas, please. She whispered. I love you. I didn't turn around. No, you don't. You love what I do for you. There's a difference. Colin and I walked to the truck. As we were pulling away, Skylar ran out into the driveway. Lucas. She screamed. Loud enough that neighbors poked their heads out to see what was happening. You can't do this to me. Lucas. I didn't stop. Didn't look back in the rear-view mirror. Just drove away from the house I'd spent years maintaining from the woman who saw me as nothing more than a useful tool to be tolerated. That was 3 months ago. The divorce is proceeding smoothly. Skylar didn't contest anything once she realized I had copies of all her texts and messages. I've settled into my new apartment, started physical therapy for my shoulder, and even joined a local hiking group to get out and meet new people. Colin tells me Skylar still asks about me whenever they run into each other, says she's telling everyone who will listen that I had a midlife crisis, that I abandoned her out of nowhere. Her friends, including Natalie, have been spreading rumors about me around town, which I mostly ignore. Last week, I ran into Skylar's sister, Mia, at the grocery store. I braced myself for hostility, but instead, she hugged me. Said she'd seen the texts. Apparently, Skylar had sought sympathy by showing her the harmless jokes that had driven me away, but the plan backfired. Mia told me she was sorry, that she'd always thought we were good together, but that I deserved better than how her sister had treated me. That validation from someone in Skylar's own family helped heal something in me I hadn't realized was still broken. Yesterday was Skylar's birthday. I sent her nothing. No card, no acknowledgement. Just silence. My attorney tells me the divorce should be finalized within the next month. I'm not angry anymore. Just sad that someone I gave 11 years of my life to never really saw me at all. But I'm also hopeful for the first time in a long time. I'm rediscovering who I am outside of being someone's personal repairman. Turns out, I'm not a broken appliance after all. I'm a whole damn person, and I won't settle for being seen as anything less ever again.